Plato would follow Socrates around and like write down the stuff he would say, and then Socrates would invite dudes over and they'd go have these crazy conversations, and Plato would just write and like transcribe it. And so Critias was some dude, and Timaeus, they were buddies, and they came over to tell Socrates about Atlantis, and that's where a lot of this data comes from Plato recording the conversation. He actually, and you can maybe correct me on this, but Plato, they're telling Plato and Socrates that Solon, one of their ancestors from like maybe 600 years before or 400 years ago from when they were alive, 800 years?
6 generations, less than 200 years.
Okay, so 6 generations before, great-great-great-grandfather, went to Alexandria, Egypt, and talked to the scribes of Egypt, and they told Solon all about this Atlantis. They gave him the measurements of the concentric rings. They told him the shape, the size, and so Solon came back and recorded that with the Greeks. And now it's that data is matching up with this Rakat structure.
There's so many similarities that are so consequential. The most detailed and consequential aspects of this legend of Atlantis matches the wrist shot. And to me, I'll be honest, it is, in my opinion, by far the most likely site, and I do believe that it was.
This was Atlantis, dude. But I know it's like purported to be.
It look, again, I don't know, maybe it's not, but for God's sake, it is by far the most likely location, and it's worthy of scientific study. And that's what I'm encouraging here, is that it should be looked into. There has never been an archaeological dig at the Rishon structure. It's possible that it wasn't. I'm open-minded enough to know that I don't know. Like, what's that? Is it from Socrates? It's the true wisdom is to know that you don't know. So it's like, hey, I wasn't alive at that time. What I do know is that it is premature and foolish for anyone to say, no, it wasn't. It's one thing to have doubts. It's one thing to scrutinize the topic and to figure out the truth. But it is still a mystery. And I should also say this. The Eye of the Sahara is a geological mystery. It's clear that something happened here. The ocean was there at one point in time. It might not be there today, but you can see the satellite image, correct?
Yeah, they didn't even know it existed until like 1991 or something.
Yeah, the astronauts on Gemini 4 or whatever are the first ones to ever pick up on it. I mean, look at that. Those striations, like this is water, this is textbook water erosion, fluvial erosion, and it's inexplicable. We don't know how this happened or when, but clearly it was far more recently than the 56 to 66 million years ago of the Trans-Saharan Seaway. So, yeah, man, there's a real mystery here in the Sahara. And let me just say one last thing. Even if the Rishon is not Atlantis, people need to focus on what the heck happened to the Sahara Desert. That in itself is incredibly important and drives me towards this topic, because it's like there's a real scientific discovery here waiting to be happened, because nobody knows exactly what happened to the Sahara to have obliterated it by the ocean.
It's important, too, to understand our past history, because if it really was meteors from the torrid meteor stream, Dick Dickerson, not comet, micronova, and Earth stopped for a day. And I guess you're talking about what shattered over North America. You're saying it was not a comet? It was a micronova?
All right, so one of the big theories is that it involves a pole shift, that the sun did a micronova and caused the geomagnetic poles to flip here. And this is something I'm looking into greatly. I think that one of the things that we're looking at, I think comets have hit us, but I think it's beyond that. I think there was even more that happened on Earth. I think there was a couple events that happened. Something happened 12,800 years ago, and another event happened 11,600 years ago. And I think that it could be all the above, and that Earth is far more volatile and dangerous than anyone wants to really believe. And I've been looking into the sun cycle thing, and this is like, it really needs to be looked at more. The poles have flipped hundreds of times. They know this. It's science. They're overdue to flip again. And if you look at certain historical and religious texts, when the geomagnetic poles flip, the Earth's shields diminish greatly. And everything I'm saying here is science. This isn't like conspiracy part. And when the shields go down, we will be more susceptible to cosmic impact. So the theory is that maybe that had happened 12,000 years ago. The shields went down, diminished during that period of when the Earth stopped, essentially stopped for a day and flipped back. And then somewhere in that realm of time, rocks hit us. And so it was kind of like a double whammy.
Interesting. And that's the shield is the Earth's magnetic field?
Yeah. And that's the thing. So it's already diminishing now. The poles are changing at 70 miles a year when it was like moving at like 20 miles a year just like a decade and a half ago. It's accelerating, and we're overdue. This is like one of those things, man. I'm telling you, this is the rabbit hole. as sun cycles, and even Elon Musk was talking about this involving ice ages. I think the Earth's tilt influences ice ages more than anything.
Yeah, I was reading that we're still in an ice age. We're coming out of it, and it's just because all that ice got melted 12,000 years ago that people didn't really realize that we're still in the ice age.
It's true. We're literally in an ice age right now. It's going to get cold again before it might continue to warm, but the data shows that it's going to cool down again. Back when Trump was president, he spoke about this. He was being sharpshooted by some climate guy, and he kind of like laughs and says, it's going to get cool first though, won't it? Something to that effect. And I think he knows. I think Elon Musk knows. I think the big secret is that because we can't live when it's cold, we can survive when it's warm. We can do that. We can grow food. We can't grow crops when it's freezing. And the data shows that the Earth is cold more often than it's hot. I can show you mainstream science, data shows exactly this. There are these periods where things do warm, and then it freezes for periods that far exceed the length of time than the warming periods. Mainstream scientific stuff. I'm like in my head, I'm wondering, how is this not the number one topic? But there's an agenda, there's a narrative, there's politics behind this climate stuff. They want to tax us, they want to take away our freedoms, they want to blame everything on humans. But there are some big things happening that I think that they rather have the masses not really know.